Hi, did you miss us? Did you miss me?
Yeah. Welcome to Next Level Play podcast.
We've been gone for a minute, but we're back. Marcus is back.
Sydney is back.
That's me.
Yeah.
And we are a gaming and esports podcast, and we are going to talk about the new Nintendo Switch specs that they dropped.
The rumored spec.
The rumored specs.
The rumored spec. We're going to have a heated debate about cutscenes in video games.
Yes, and speaking of video games, we're going to talk about some new games that have come out, like Hellblade 2, which take it or leave it, I guess.
We'll see about the reaction on that release. We're going to have some speculation on what classic game franchises may be returning back into your living room. We're going to talk about AI. We're going to talk about some wider world issues. It's going to be light. It's going to be fun, I promise, but it's going to change your life.
We're also having a guest on that Marcus is very excited about.
I very much am. If you're a fan of Super Smash Brothers as I am, you'll know exactly who this individual is. He'll be coming on a little later.
He's the director of the penultimate Smash Brothers documentary, The Smash Brothers, so stick around. That's going to be very exciting.
Yeah. The future of esports and gaming
is right here.
Right now.
Next Level Play. Marcus, how are you?
I'm well. I feel a little naked, to be honest with you.
Because you shaved?
Because I shaved. Okay. Yeah, I think this is the first time.
I thought you were going to be like, because I'm not wearing pants. And I was like, you actually don't have to tell them that. They don't have to know.
That too. But
they'll never know.
Yeah, no, it's I hate it. But yeah, it's the first time.
You look nice.
Thank you. I wasn't fishing, but I do appreciate it. It's really hard to hide the fact that I haven't hit puberty without the beard. So like, it's really, especially the voice. Yeah, no, it's.
No.
I'm not gonna. I'm done with this.
Okay,
bit before it even gets started.
I complimented you.
Very kind. You're looking wonderful today, Sydney.
Oh my God,
you look bright, radiant, and ready to rock the world.
Marcus.
Watch out, universe. Here she comes, Sydney.
Speaking of Watch Out Universe, there is something big we're talking about today.
Yeah.
And I just want to get my hot take out there into the universe.
Okay.
Please don't hate me online. Don't be mad at me. I don't give a shit about the new Nintendo Switch.
Oh, wow.
I just don't care. And maybe it's because my Switch has been sitting in my console, like my TV console. I had to get it repaired, which I still haven't done because I have the OG original Switch.
Right.
And it has a really bad bleed that happens.
Oh, no.
I left it in the dock too long, and there's like a screen bleed, and it's like a known thing, whatever. I just have to get the screen replaced. Like, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
But ever since that happened, I was like, I guess I'll just go back to my computer. And I've been playing on my computer and my PS4. Then I got a Stream Deck and a Steam Deck, excuse me. And I just feel like I've lost the passion for a new Switch console. I just don't need it in my life.
There's a lot to unpack there.
I know.
Yeah.
Are you going to start with like my mental health?
No.
You're like, well.
Are you okay?
I'm fine.
Good enough. That's a good enough New York answer, honestly.
Are you okay? You see someone crying and you're like,
I'm fine.
They're
it's like,
fine.
okay, they're good. They're good.
They're good.
Fine.
They're talking.
Yeah,
They're fine.
They said they're fine. Not my problem. Okay, so first of all, the bleed, that's only on your screen itself of the Switch. So you can dock it and...
If I dock it and it's on it, it's fine. Yeah. But the whole point of the Switch is to be a handheld gaming device.
See, that's where you and I differ, because I almost exclusively play my Switch while docked.
What kind of controller are you?
Sounded very kinky.
What kind of controller are you rocking with?
That's my problem, actually.
I was going to say.
That's my problem.
Yeah,
so
I knew it.
I used to live with my brother, and I was using his Nintendo Switch Pro controller.
Which is great.
Which is awesome, but it's also like, I don't know, like $70.
It's expensive.
Yeah, which, like, listen, I can get it if I really want to, but it's the principle. Anyway, I moved out of my, living with my brother, so I've been back to my Joy-Cons, which have had the terrible, terrible drift. And I've had the option for, I'm not even kidding now, like 2.5 years to send it to Japan to get it fixed.
This is what I'm saying. Like, I could get my screen fixed. You could get the Joy-Cons fixed.
I just didn't do it because I was like, then I won't be able to play for like
Switch.
2 months. And like, and I just got too lazy to do it. So instead, I just didn't get it fixed, which is my fault. And listen, I'm a Nintendo head, as you've called me before, which is true. Like, I love Nintendo. And I love playing my Switch, and it's a great system. But my thing is the Switch was never purchased for power. It was never like, oh, I got all these, it's a state-of-the-art next-gen console. It's a Nintendo console that also has a lot of great gimmicks and is portable. But like, you get the Switch so you can play Nintendo games, not so you can play the state-of-the-art modern video games.
Fair enough. Okay, but here's my point. What makes the Switch 2 so awesome that it's going to make even you, a person like me for sure, but even you be like, well, I have to drop.
Well, that's the thing. I don't. Like, I'm kind of on your side. Like, I'm saying the Switch still feels like it has longevity. It has a huge player base. I would prefer they kind of milk its life cycle a little longer and come out with some more premier titles for the Switch.
Agree.
I don't see the need to get this, because I'm with you. There's nothing to me that I'm like, oh, wow, I'm looking at the rumored specs. It'll be as powerful as a PlayStation 4. As someone who still plays Super Mario Brothers 3 from 1988, I don't really care. Like, I want to play Nintendo games, and now I'm not going to shell out the $500 or whatever.
And I feel like it used to be, when a new console came out, the reason why you had to get the new console was for the games, because the cartridges changed, when they went to CD-ROM, like that was completely, you were like, okay, new console. But now we're in the death of physical media, RIP in peace. But like, most people just stream the games. They just have them in the cloud. Yeah. They don't buy physical games. So like, your Switch 2 games aren't going it, or the Switch 2 games are going to be the same games that are on the Switch.
Well, it's not so much they play through the cloud, but it's more they at least they download it.
They download it. They're not streaming through the cloud. They own the game, but they don't need a Switch 2 to play new games on like a physical. You know what I mean? So I guess, who is this marketed toward, in your opinion, being a lover of Nintendo? Like, are these just diehard Nintendo fans?
I mean, it's just the way the industry is. Every 5, 6, 7 years, you have to have a new console upgrade, which the way computers and technology work, it is, very much exponential. And I get it. Like, technology's come a long way since the Switch launched in 2017.
Sure.
But I'm with you. I feel like it's with the Wii. I mean, the Wii was a crazy, crazy successful system. And then the Wii U came out, which was terribly marketed and its own thing with its own gimmicks. And I know the Switch 2 isn't trying to do that, but
are they fixing the Joy-Cons?
Oh, they better.
I mean, have they talked about it at all? Have they addressed that?
I mean, we don't even know that much about Switch 2. We don't know if it's going to have Joy-Cons. We don't know, like, what is even going to go on. Is it going to be something totally revolutionary where they really, it's something because no one imagined the Switch before it came out.
Totally.
It was like totally, and when we all first watched the trailer, we were like,
weird. Interesting.
Yeah. And it's
now I feel, I mean, I mentioned that I have a Steam Deck, which is totally different, like apples and oranges, like Nintendo, like you said, the Switch is for Nintendo. It is for
its design.
Except for its design. So, I really do like my Steam Deck. It feels good in your hands. The screen, I have like the OLED screen or whatever. Sure. It's super nice. It can play high-powered games because it's basically a computer.
Right.
So I'm just wondering, what in your perfect world, what would that Switch 2 be? Because in my mind, the Steam Deck is kind of nailing it. It feels good. The controls are good. You can remap controls. Yeah. You can make it your own. You could even plug in a keyboard and a mouse if you wanted to.
For sure.
So like, in what way would the Switch 2, obviously if the Joy-Cons got fixed.
Yeah.
But in your mind's eye, would it be that they no longer have the Joy-Cons? Would it be that it's not a mobile gaming? I mean, I feel like it has to be on the go still.
For sure. Well, there's two things. And honestly, and the more I'm thinking, I'm like talking myself out of agreeing with you almost.
Interesting.
Just because the Switch has enough room for improvement in that, like the Switch port of any modern game, most people are like, it's inferior. And it is. It doesn't play that well. I mean, the Switch had trouble playing Assassin's Creed 3, and that came out in like 2013. So like, it's there's room for improvement. There's definitely room for improvement for the Switch to catch up and truly be like a modern console. And from what I'm reading about rumors, it's looking like it's going to be about as powerful as like a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox Series S. I've heard as well. So like which is a big step up.
Modern, but not
sort of modern. Not
a
really,
PS5.
No.
Yeah.
But my argument, the reason I haven't gotten a PS5 from my PS4, I've talked about this all the time, ruining my credibility on this show. You've agreed with me to some extent. It's like,
I also don't have a PS5, so.
I struggle to see a huge difference in the PS4 and PS5. You know, and I know that there's bigger games and there's better performance. I see that when I'm not blind to it. But for me, I think of the time when we went from N64 to like GameCube, and it's, I mean, you look at those games and it's just such a huge improvement, or NES to Super Nintendo. And we're not seeing those. And that's kind of the advantage that Switch 2 honestly has over PS5, over PS4. The dramatic upgrade from Switch to Switch 2, like there's room for that.
Fair.
But in my perfect world, you would have that plus something totally crazy that Nintendo's thought of that nobody has.
A Neuralink.
That's the thing. The people at Nintendo, I'm going full on like suck up fanboy mode. And I don't even mean
so Nintendo,
statement.
if you're watching.
Yeah. People at Nintendo are smart. Like there's some smart, creative individuals.
Your suck up. You're like, you guys are smart.
Well, they are.
Prove me wrong.
You got to give them flowers. I'm not smart. I'm an idiot.
1,000%.
I can't think of a good improvement of the Switch that's some revolutionary, crazy ass like thing that no one's ever thought of because I'm a dumbass. And people at Nintendo are smart.
Yeah. No, I agree.
People at Sony are smart too. Yeah.
And while we're at it, maybe Xbox. Yeah. I agree. I do think that there's a big room for improvement. I'm just curious. I would love to, as more information comes out, maybe I'll be swayed. Maybe I'll change my mind. I just think they also need to pair it with, a big release, like a new Smash Bros. Or something, go back to the old days where it's like exclusive release of this early access, whatever. You get the game and you get the console and you pay that extra money, but it's like you're the first.
Yeah.
Because I know that's what drives a lot of people to get an exclusive game pack is when it's bundled with a console or like a release or something. So I don't know. They got to do some dope skins on the new Nintendo Switch. I'm thinking cosmetic now, but I know they'll make a better change than that. But I'm like, new Animal Crossing game and make it so cute.
And I'm not a big Animal Crossing guy, but I think that's really smart because Animal Crossing does gangbusters.
That's why I got the Switch when I first got it. Animal Crossing. So
100%. Oh man.
It could pull me back in.
That was a crazy couple of months.
It's a great
Tiger King.
You guys remember that?
The Last Dance.
It's a crazy couple of months.
Animal Crossing.
All our brains.
What else happened those months?
What was it called?
I don't know. Anyway,
it doesn't matter. My brain fog's kicking in.
And the thing is, Nintendo had that reputation for the longest time of launch title being system seller.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I say that, but they kind of did and they kind of didn't. Super Nintendo had Super Mario World. Nintendo 64 had Super Mario 64. Those were two of the greatest launch titles of all time, bar none. Oh, and Game Boy had Tetris, which, it's Tetris.
Forgot about that.
NES didn't launch with Super Mario Brothers originally. Eventually it did. It did get bundled with it and Duck Hunt, and that became, a huge, huge system seller. But originally it was packaged with Robot, and, all this other stuff. I think Duck Hunt was part. Anyway, it's the whole thing. And obviously they didn't in Japan, where Super Mario Brothers came out towards the end of the life cycle of the Famicom. But GameCube, the launch titles were Luigi's Mansion, which it's a Mario game, but
I thought it would have been Animal Crossing.
No, that came out the next year, I believe, 2002. Pikmin, I believe, was also a launch title. Pikmin's great, but it was also new IP, and I will get buried if I talk shit about Pikmin.
Do you think that they will do a launch title for the Nintendo Switch 2?
They have. Well, that's kind of my argument is that, then you go to the Wii. Oh, yeah, I can swear.
You just looked the fear of God.
I forgot about Wii Sports.
Oh, well.
That's a big-ass launch title.
Yeah.
But Wii U didn't really have a launch title. Switch did have Zelda Breath of the Wild, but that also came out on the Wii U. So does that really count?
I say yes. I feel like it is par for the course that they will have a launch title, whether or not it's the biggest thing. It might be a Pikmin at the time. Maybe it'll be a new game. I mean, that would be fucking awesome, actually. New IP would be dope.
If you want it as a system seller, then it needs to be exclusive, right?
It does need to be exclusive.
Granted, nobody had the Wii U,
right?
So that's why so many people have the Switch for Zelda. But everyone has the Switch, so who's gonna buy the Switch 2 for a game they can get on the Switch 1?
That's what I'm saying. But final question. we'll have to end it here because we need to move on. But at this point in time, with the released information, the specs, would you get a Switch 2?
At this moment, no, unless there was some crazy, like cool launch title that was exclusive, or some feature of the Switch 2 that just blew my stupid little brain.
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I do want to talk a little more about what you think would be some good launch titles for a Switch 2.
Okay. Well, what about another Smash Bros. Game then? If it's a new exclusive title, what about another Smash Bros. Game?
Yeah.
I feel like that is the biggest IP that would pull people in, even more so than Animal Crossing. I mean, I would say Animal Crossing. That's just me. But
because Melee was like a month or two after the GameCube launched. It was pretty immediately after.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So good argument. What would so Ultimate, how do you top Ultimate? Because Ultimate was really kind of a fever dream. Fever dream? No, wrong word.
Kind of a fever dream.
Like
of all the characters you'd ever want together. Like
fantasy dream.
Yeah. And there's still, I mean, that's the issue is like Ultimate, they're still adding new characters, you know? Like
I mean, I think I don't think they've added any recently. But,
no.
But
well then maybe in my dream world, a new Smash game would take a page from like Mario Party. And it would be, you could have, you know, like Melee, but you could also have, I don't know, like side scroller, like, you know, moving map type of thing, like almost like mini games, like mini battle games where it's still Smash.
Yeah.
And you still have like your special move and like all the controls are the same, like everything's the same, but there has to either be additional characters. You've really got to pull in some new characters because they get stale and people want new mains. You have to keep the classics though. Don't get rid of them.
Yeah.
And then, like, I don't know if it's just new maps, but in my mind, like, I love mini games. Like, I love party games. And I feel like if Smash opened up its world a little bit more to, you know, you can have just PvP stuff and whatever and battle stuff, but then also like a pop the balloon.
Right. I agree. 100%. More mini games like the break the targets and the race to the finishes
together that you're still doing, and maybe it's like a break in the melee.
Right. No,
all
for
of a sudden it's like you got to do this other thing, and it's 100%. You know.
And Smash Brothers always experiments with a different kind of campaign. They had Subspace Emissary and the World of Light, which I've played through both and I enjoyed them. They're not amazing.
It's not a campaign game. Like people don't go to it for the campaign.
I'm a classic mode guy, but adventure mode from Melee was great. So my argument, obviously Ultimate did all the characters. They're all here and all the past characters and all the past stages. So that's been done, and you need to keep all those characters. You can't get rid of anyone. If you get rid of
Toon Link, I swear to God,
I'll be mad. And you got to add a good handful extra. Get creative.
Sprinkle them in.
We're still waiting for characters from
Master Chief.
Sure, why not? I mean, no, why not though? Really, let's expand.
At this point, why not?
Yeah, why not? But there's more. Gino.
Okay.
People are still calling for Gino.
Is Pikmin in Smash?
Yes.
Okay, I couldn't remember. Oh, they are. Okay, I was like, Adam, you gotta add him.
For sure. But we could add more Pikmin characters.
More Pikmin.
100%. So characters, add some more creative stages. But I think the thing that would really kind of sell it would be kind of a historic retrospective. And Nintendo, they won't do it. They won't do this. But having an option to change the physics of Smash Brothers.
Oh.
Ultimate, true retrospective.
Make it harder.
Well, no, but say, hey, I want to feel like Melee, which is the most popular to this day, I think, across, the hardcore enthusiasts. I want this to feel like Melee. Or I want the heavyweightedness of Brawl. Or I want the clunkety clunk of Nintendo 64. I want to feel those polygons chugging. You also have an option to set like graphics too. All of these are like pixelated into N64, just disgusting models. There's some cool characters we haven't seen as N64 models, and they could be gnarly, and I want to see them. But then you can also move it up to like GameCube, level, like Melee graphics, and you can so you can do like Melee physics, but it's like modern day Switch, or like Nintendo 64 models. But that's a pipe dream. That's the word I'm looking for.
Dream.
It's never gonna happen, but I would love that for Smash Brothers. I think anyone who grew up with Smash Brothers, that would be the thing that would kind of like that bad bitch in there. Why did I use that word? I don't know.
Well, I feel like if you're listening, Nintendo, just keep it in mind. You know, if this is what it's going to
Consider
take
it.
for Marcus to buy the Switch 2, he might be onto something. Uh, I I'm gonna be nice. I'm not gonna be a hater. I will keep the Switch 2 in my thoughts and prayers.
I appreciate that. It sounded passive aggressive.
Speaking of, I'll pray for you, Switch 2.
Yeah.
I'll pray for you. Speaking of things though that have come out recently that might not have like fulfilled people as much as they were hoping for. Are you familiar with the game Hellblade?
I'm familiar with the backlash.
Oh, of the new one. You haven't played the original.
I've not. No,
I
know of it.
Yeah, I played a tiny bit of it. I didn't finish it, but not for any other reason. It was me. It was just like I got it and then kind of forgot about it. My bad. But it is a beautiful game that is well respected, renowned. People loved it. People were obsessed with it. The cosplay, you know, like you can picture the character immediately. The blue with the headband. But the new Hellblade 2 kind of came and went. Everyone was so pumped for it. It was 7 years in the making. I've been there before with Kingdom Hearts and with the current book trilogy I'm reading, the King Killer Chronicles. That third book's never going to come out, and I've accepted it. But the excitement that happened when finally this game was coming out, everyone was so pumped. It's like an RPG, not an RPG. It's a adventure game with puzzles and stuff in it. And there was a lot of, not criticisms, but a lot of people had 7 years to talk about the first game. And they were like, this is what we love. This is what we didn't like, you know, blah, blah, blah. Big skeptical eye rolls when they saw another game was coming out because the story kind of ended. Like it had a resolution. This character, you know, had like, God, there was like mental, it just like, it really pulled at the heartstrings and it had a really wonderful ending. So when the second game was announced, I think people were like, okay. But had hopes. And then they were torn down when people finished playing the game in like, what, 5 hours?
Right.
7 years and the gameplay lasts 5 hours?
Yeah.
I would be bummed too. I'm not surprised.
No. I mean, I'd be, if I was a fan especially, I'd be
really
pissed. I have always argued, I remember being a kid and getting a game for Christmas and Dragon Ball Z Budokai 1, and I beat it on Christmas. There was more content.
Where you got it on Christmas and you beat it on Christmas.
I felt real pissed off and ripped off, and like I still do. If I spend a lot of money on a video game and
$80,
the length of a movie and a half, or Martin Scorsese movie, I got that out. I got that out.
Say that 5 times fast. Martin Scorsese movie.
I'm pissed off about it. Like that's not, even back in the day, people were. The whole reason NES games were so hard was to like make the game
longevity. Yeah.
If you beat a game in an hour, you feel ripped off.
Also, apparently,
no one wants to go on a carnival ride where it's one loop-de-loop and then you wait an hour online.
It's a roller coaster that goes.
It's 30 seconds
up and comes back down. I heard and I saw some gameplay, like lack thereof, I should say.
Yeah.
Minimal gameplay. I mean, and this is another debate too. People are, you hate them or you love them with cutscenes and stuff, but like the game itself. It's meant to be kind of exploratory adventure combat, minimal gameplay in Hellblade 2, and the resurgence of like these puzzles that were in the first game, which people love them or hate them. Again, I'm not gonna. Some people love puzzles in games, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But I think when you substitute them in, it feels lazy, and it feels like we're just having you do this to take up time.
Well, it kind of reminds me of the Bioshock lockpick puzzles, which were kind of the one sort of unpopular, from my memory, a little bit unpopular, a little bit repetitive. And so Bioshock 2, which came out just a couple years later, they changed it up, which it wasn't a great mini game there either, but it was a mini game. And Bioshock 1 and 2, they're solid, 20-hour campaigns, I think, on first playthrough.
Oh, and apparently in Hellblade 2, the issue too was like the puzzles weren't even challenging. Like it wasn't like I can't figure this out. It was just that there was a lot of them, and
it's just derivative. And people didn't like them in the first place. And why wouldn't you change them? And why would it feels like it's padding the gameplay in a
and the
lazy ass way.
And I don't want to hate fully on the game because there are some excellent, there's just absolutely like gorgeous graphics, and clearly they took the time. They built a beautiful game. The graphics are gorgeous. The sound design is amazing. It's just striking, like the lighting design and stuff. They know what they're doing. I just think, I don't know if it was like 7 years went by and they were like, we have to get the game out. Like, we have to get it out or people are going to lose interest, whatever.
Well, you were saying too that there's a third one coming out. You're saying, oh, sorry.
Isn't it?
Scratch that. I misunderstood you. I apologize.
Is there a third?
No. You were talking about the sequel to the first and how it was like it didn't need a sequel, but they had announced it.
Yeah, but I wish there was a third. At this point now, I'm like, make another one and make it better.
That's what I'm saying. Like maybe they developed two at the same time and they're pulling a Resident Evil 2 and 3 where they're like, oh, we're splitting the release.
That would be interesting, but I doubt it.
Cut that because I sound like an idiot.
I think there is a hard line, not a fine line, between having too many cutscenes in video games. And I think, I don't know if it's like a crowdsourcing thing, like you just kind of feel it where you're like, all right, that too many cutscenes, like 5-minute cutscenes. But then there are games where that really is the point, like Final Fantasy, like there's a ton of cutscenes.
Yeah.
And they're cinematic, and that's sort of the feel of the game.
I think they get a pass, yeah.
I don't know. What do you have an opinion? I mean, Hellblade 2 just made me think of it because of like the lack of gameplay and it pissed people off.
Yeah.
But I also think some people like cutscenes.
I don't.
Okay.
Personally, I never have. Did
we talk about? I think we talked about this
all the fucking time. But like, I story in video games is important. I understand the appeal. I think part of it, only part of it, I don't want to speak for everyone. I am such a big movie guy.
True.
That when I'm looking for a narrative, I will prefer to watch a movie. And when I'm looking for an experience and a role play, and more escapism, I go for video games, which is why I always prioritize gameplay over graphics, over story, especially over anything. That being said, I think certain, like Kojima gets away with it.
Yeah,
it's part of his shtick.
That's his shtick,
and I get that, and I respect it, and I respect it being different. I think the argument comes down to pre-rendered versus like in-game cutscenes, and it seems like pre-rendered cutscenes are probably more expensive, I would imagine, because if you can make a cutscene in the game engine, you don't have to invest in all this CGI or possibly mocap and that's the thing too. It often feels, for me, I prefer in-game cutscenes 100%
because it feels more immersive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, Half-Life did it best, where there are no cutscenes. Things happen to you while you're in the game.
Yeah.
A scientist is giving you exposition. If you don't feel like listening to it, you walk away from the scientist and his voice gets fainter and fainter. And then you miss that storyline.
Yeah.
Tough titties. Like you were too busy sitting in a corner being like, doing like little,
fucking off in the background.
Doing your crowbar. Look at me, I'm Gordon.
But I do love,
great.
I love that. And I feel similarly, like I love to be immersed. And I think it's hilarious when you have the option to do that in a game and you're like, I missed all of the exposition because I was in the background goofing off, and that's on me.
It's my real life, just the same thing.
Real life.
Yeah.
But I do think I don't mind cutscenes. I skip a lot of them. I'll be honest. I skip through them sometimes because I'm like, get to the gameplay. But there's something to be said for the pre-rendered, beautiful cinematic cutscenes. Like Final Fantasy does them, and it's basically a mini movie. Like it's a mini movie and you watch your mini movie and you know it's happening.
Right.
I will say though, I remember when I was younger, when cutscenes started to become popular in games and I would see like a trailer for a game or something and I'd be like, oh, that game looks incredible. And then you play the game and little did you know it's like a turn-based game that has nothing to do with those. I mean, Final Fantasy is like a perfect example. It's like cinematic cutscenes with like gorgeous graphics, like you could see the tears on the person's face, and then it cuts to like it's a card turn-based game, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
I was tricked. I was hoodwinked. So I think
100% agreed.
There's a time and a place, but I do think that like sometimes they just want to, like the game developers are like, let's just like make a movie. Let's just like not make the game. and just do something else.
Original Final Fantasy VII, I think, is the worst offender of that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, because as a kid, I only saw the cutscenes. I'm like, oh,
yes.
PlayStation has it going on.
Yeah.
I had a PlayStation, but still, you play the actual game, and then it cuts, and it's the blocky little, which is great. Final Fantasy VII is amazing. But I think they're the worst of that. And that's another point I want to make too. There's a disconnect when you go from in-game to a cutscene.
That looks that good. If it's not an in-game cutscene with the graphics that are in the game, agreed.
And sometimes it's a stylistic, directional disconnect too, because not telling any tales out of school here, a lot of the times those cutscenes are outsourced to like companies halfway across the world.
So it's not even the game company or studio.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to me, it's just, and quick time events within cutscenes, I don't think make it any better, personally. It's a step in the right direction.
I think we've talked about that.
Yeah, I'm getting a little repetitive. But again, I'm a grumpy old man, so it's okay hate on story in video games. I'm going to talk shit about cutscenes.
It's okay to be grumpy. And I think the people, who have played Hellblade 2 would attest to your grumpiness and say, there's time and a place. I would prefer gameplay over cutscenes when it comes down to it.
I do get it, though. And I'm kind of sad. I just had a realization of just how grumpy and old and miserable I've become. Because when I was a kid, those cutscenes, when you got to a point in a game that you've been working at for weeks or months, and then you unlock a new cutscene and a new part of the story, that's some magical shit.
Rewarding.
Yeah, or like the end of game cutscene, like Spyro end of game or no, Crash Bandicoot 2.
Yeah,
it's like 5 seconds, that end of game cutscene, and
but it's so worth it.
It was. There's a little disappointment in it to an extent, but regardless, the cutscenes at end of games were a big deal when they were a big deal, but now they're not a big deal.
Also, because we're so used to them, I think, but also like I appreciate cutscenes for like the reprieve of having a pause of the gameplay. Like I play a lot of horror games, and you do too.
That's true. Yeah.
And when you get a cutscene, you're like, whew, okay, now we fought the boss. Gonna get a little cutscene now. Take a little breather. Drink a glass of water.
Yeah.
So I appreciate them, but my final stance, and it's a basic stance, but like there's a time and a place, and it's just the feeling. You got to feel it out in the rhythm and like the gameplay. If it works, it works, and if it's overused, it can totally detract from the entire gameplay and the entire story.
Yeah. No, I agree. As long as it's all about balance.
It's all about balance.
It's all about balance. For me, I like my coffee with just a little sprinkle of sugar.
A little sprinkle.
A couple grains of cutscenes.
I feel like we've been grumpy people today. I don't know if it's just like it's a hot, muggy day in New York City. We were like 12 angry men in the studio. But let's be positive.
Okay.
And I'm going to change course. I'm swerving back to a topic that I think would be positive and would make you happy.
Okay.
Switch 2. I just feel like there was more that you wanted to say about a game title or about Smash in general.
Yeah. Of launch titles.
Speak on that.
Sure. Yeah, because I do have a lot of ideas of what I think could be launched.
I feel like the whole time we were talking about everything else, you were sitting quietly in your head being like, what would I like to come out on Switch 2?
Pikmin would be nice, I guess.
Pikmin would be good. What about a Smash?
And Smash would be, and we'll talk a lot more about Smash.
Yes.
Because it's universal. But I think obviously a new 3D Mario would be the easy kind of pick.
No more Paper Mario. Get that shit out of here.
I love Paper Mario very much.
Oh, sorry. All right, Paper Mario, you're cool.
I mean, the first two Paper Marios. Third one is pretty good too.
Get that shit out of here.
Okay, classic Mario RPG. Like, yeah. I think we're due for it. Like a 1,000-Year Door style Paper Mario game.
Okay.
We're clamoring for it. It would sell well. Super Mario RPG 2 you could do as well, because we did have the re-release recently. I think Zelda, we just had Breath of the Wild 2, Tears of the Kingdom.
Tears of the Kingdom.
And Odyssey 2 seems like Nintendo doesn't really carry over sequels across generations usually. So I would rather it be called something different than Odyssey 2, but still be basically like Odyssey 2.
As simple as it seems, like we did just have the Sweet Red Plumber movie, so I feel like it would do well for them to do a new game.
It makes the most sense. Metroid, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Here's the thing though, Metroid 4 at this point. Is that a
launch title? It's not.
Metroid 4. Metroid's incredible and deserves to be 100%. I wasn't trying to. That wasn't at you. That was at the world for not recognizing Metroid.
I recognize. I just don't know if it's launch title material. But go on, Metroid 4. Sorry.
It's okay. No, you're good. I just got a little triggered.
Pissing Marcus off.
Got a little We've been waiting a long time for Metroid Prime 4, and it better be on the Switch. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So I don't want that as a launch title. Metroid Dread was just a few years old, but if we could have a Metroid 6 as launch, that would sell it for me. I'm thinking something like the new F-Zero game. We haven't had an F-Zero game in about 20 plus years, or close to it. No, 20 plus years. Yeah, if you don't include F-Zero 99.
That's a long time, though. Do you think people would like instantly recognize that as a beloved Nintendo franchise?
The diehards do.
The diehards.
And I think, and Star Fox would be another good choice.
Yeah.
They tried to do a Star Fox game with Wii U, and it wasn't great.
It didn't go over well.
No.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't good.
Well.
But just go back to your roots, Nintendo. Just try a little harder. Donkey Kong game, like a fun new Donkey Kong game.
Okay,
it could be 2D or 3D.
3D.
I think at this point, yeah.
It's gotta be.
I mean, yeah. Donkey Kong Country Returns, though. Tropical Freeze got a lot more play on Switch.
Oh, I never played Tropical Freeze.
It's not called Tropical Freeze. It's called something like that, though.
Tropical Breeze.
Something like that. It is Tropical Freeze? All right. I'm losing all credibility.
But if you can't even remember the name, then how is it going to be popular enough for a launch title?
I mean, it's like okay, what's the new Ghostbusters ice movie?
Oh, I don't,
After Free.
Well, that was bad. It wasn't a good movie.
These are some generic, listen, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, incredible. Also the name of a popsicle, on Gatorade flavor.
Okay, so maybe not the launch title.
It's
Sorry,
just
Donkey
not
Kong.
it's just a very generic title.
I think Mario is a great idea. I think it should be like Mario versus the world. And it's like a Mario, but sort of with Smash elements. Like it's like Mario action RPG. You play as him, but maybe it has sort of the mechanics of Smash, where like Mario just fucking can pick people up and toss them over the edge.
The world just takes and takes from Mario, but finally Mario takes from the world.
Will take back because they killed his brother.
Jesus.
Yeah,
they do to Luigi.
They murdered Luigi.
New Wario title would be great.
Oh, that would also be
I would love that. I mean, not WarioWare, like a Wario Land kind of, like they did Wario World on GameCube. It kind of sucked.
Here's my idea.
Yeah.
Wario versus the world.
Yes.
And it's an RPG style with Wario with Smash mechanics, and they killed his brother. Waluigi.
You dirty rat. Okay.
Are Wario and Waluigi brothers?
It's not confirmed, I don't think, but it's heavily implied.
Okay, then I think in this game they are.
Yeah.
And they killed Waluigi.
I don't know though. They look like they're from different gene pools.
They do. They're from different genes. The mustache though.
Yeah, but they all have that. Yeah, that's true.
A Wario game would be fun.
Yeah.
Okay, so final verdict then. What is your launch title for the Switch 2?
New 3D Mario. It's so generic, but
no, I agree.
That's got to be the answer.
As soon as you said it, I was like, yeah.
More creatively, and what I want, new Punch Out. Bring back Little Mac. Do it. It's been too long.
It's been too long.
But we were talking about Smash Brothers, which I think ultimately that and Animal Crossing, honestly, or a new Pokemon. One of those three, or those are the sellers.
I'm curious. I'm going to make a prediction right now. I'm going to say Animal Crossing just to be devil's advocate.
Maybe smart.
I'm very curious when we get more information whose prediction will be right.
But speaking of Smash Brothers, we have our special guest coming up next. I'm actually genuinely very, very excited.
The director of like the most well-known Smash Brothers documentary, Travis. We're going to have him in, so stick around. Don't go anywhere.
Coming up next.
Level play.
Hey.
This is about a game that was never designed to be played at a competitive level. And the people who discovered just how far the game could go.
Well, I'd never heard your name before, so go suck a dick.
Tons of people behind me just screaming. He goes there ready to die. Best feeling ever.
But mostly, this is about the 7 greatest players who, in their time, ruled the world.
We have Travis, aka Samox, Beauchamp with us. You may know Travis as the director of like the most I will say the most well-known Smash doc that is out there, the Smash Brothers. Marcus was like giddy.
Yeah.
Travis, I'm gonna totally blow
I'm
up
a
Marcus's
fan.
spot. When we got into the studio, he was like, I've actually seen his doc and I'm like really excited to meet him. And I didn't realize it was him, and I'm like freaking out. So welcome to Next Level Play.
Not just
Thank you,
director
thank
either.
you.
I mean, whole creator, documentary filmmaker,
Yeah.
extraordinaire. I mean,
We could go on, but
Yeah.
I mean, do you want to introduce yourself in your own words to the people?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you guys did a pretty good job. I mean, I directed it, I created it. I was sleeping in the car trying to make it happen.
Wow.
I did all the parts of it, and then I did the sequel to it, Metagame, which came out in 2020. Right now, I'm sort of up in the air. I might actually be doing another Smash doc potentially, but as of right now, I'm sort of a free agent.
Oh,
I love that.
Yeah.
I just kind of want to jump right in. Obviously, the world of YouTube and kind of just creating your own content. It was certainly a thing with momentum in 2013, but it's kind of nothing like it is nowadays.
Oh yeah.
What was that first step that made you go, I'm gonna make something, not just something small. I'm gonna make a 4+ hour documentary.
multi-part documentary.
Like high quality produce. I'm gonna put in
Yeah.
a ton of time, huge investment. You know, to make that leap to create not just a film, but a film of the scope that you did. Where do you even start? You know, especially back then.
Yeah, I mean, you're really right. It was more like the Wild West back then. Like this was the early days of that. Like YouTube was very different, and for that reason, I didn't really get my influence or my inspiration from YouTube. It was from, believe it or not, Ken Burns, The Civil War.
Whoa.
That was definitely old school.
Wow.
Yeah. When I was like 12, I was like laid out with with some awful disease and watching this series. I watched it all the way through, and then I was just so enthralled with the storytelling.
Crossfades into crossfades
so
into
good.
zoom
exactly.
ins, and
Ken
you were
Burns
like,
effect.
this is cinema.
So I immediately just internalized it or rewatched it immediately, and then I kind of had it percolate in the back of my mind. And then obviously, a few years later, I do what every, high school kid and middle school kid does, is get into Dragon Ball Z. And so I of course, later on, I'm coming up with, this concept, and those are the two main influences that kind of push together in my brain. Like, okay, let's take Dragon Ball Z and then Ken Burns, mush them together and just see what happens. And that's kind of what created it. I had no idea what like the format would be or kind of how it would end up, being received, but that's kind of the genesis of it.
Did you have experience with more short form documentary before you jumped into this project? This
was like the first thing you
This was
made,
the first
right?
documentary I ever
That's
made.
zany.
Yeah, no.
And you
incredible,
knew
though.
you wanted it to be a doc, though. Like you were like, I want to go out and talk to people and make it documentary style. You knew that from the jump.
Well, I saw an opportunity because I was like, my history was not journalism. It wasn't documentary. To be honest, I haven't really watched many more than just a few docs.
Sure.
But it was storytelling. I wanted to get across unique stories, something that's the main thing. I always wanted to produce something that's unique that people have never seen before. And this was sort of an opportunity. I fell on this community that had been in the decline or like the dark ages for a while. And there were so many interesting stories, interesting people, and it really just was like crying out for someone to tell the stories about it. So
Sure.
that was an opportunity for me to both tell a story and help out this community that I thought was really deserving of it. So
Did you know? So let's take it back. Let's go back for the people at home who might not know or might not be familiar with the documentary. You grew up playing video games.
oh yeah.
So you were a lover of Smash early on. What was the system that you played Smash on?
Well, old school, 64
Oh,
was
yeah.
my
Okay.
first, yeah.
Legit.
Yeah.
Legit.
Yeah.
Okay, so you first played on a 64. Did you continue like throughout the new consoles and the new iterations, or?
No, you know what? Me and my brother went back and forth in 64, and we were both kind of equally skilled. But he got GameCube when I was away at college, and I was like, it doesn't look right to me. Where are the blocky polygons? Like, I
It's
want
too smooth.
Yeah, too smooth, and it was too
Yeah.
fast. Like it looked too quick. So I was like, I don't really want to play this. Years later, when we were living together in Boston, it was just me and my brother, and the one game that we had was Melee. And he just kicked my ass at that game over and over and again. And it eventually got to the point where I was like, okay, what are you doing that's so different and I don't understand what you're doing here. And then he clued me into this whole world of like advanced techniques, how to speed your character up, and that's kind of what opened the door.
So how
Baby's
did
first
you...
wave dash.
Yeah.
You always need a brother. There always needs to be a brother with video games or
Smash
sister.
Brothers or sisters.
Smash brother or sisters.
Yeah.
So then once you started getting into Melee at that time, you were living in Boston, what pushed you to like discover the community and dive into the community, and then what eventually led you to like make this documentary? But what was so enthralling about this community of people and like this gameplay?
I mean, that time when my brother sat me down, he explained what the advanced techniques were, and he showed me, these are the high level players. He showed me one match in particular that made me realize, ooh, there's like a story in here, and there's like an interesting community, because the match he showed was Most 3, which is this showdown between Isaiah and Ken, who were these teammates and friends. And it was like the one time that Isaiah ever went all out against Ken in like finals, because he wasn't really big on singles. And it was this incredible back and forth set. And I just was like, I glued to the screen. I was like, I couldn't take my eyes away. So that kind of opened the door, and I did a little research from that and discovered Smashboards, which is, it's not as big as it used to be, but that was where everybody used to go. It was these forums, and you'd learn how to wave dash, or excoriate people who don't know how to wave dash. And I found Chillin' Dude's History of a Smasher, which was Chillin' Dude 829, who's probably best known for his Leffen diss rap. At this point, I don't know if you've heard this.
No.
Respect Your Elders, which is appropriate title for it, but you should after this.
I'm gonna look it up.
You should absolutely check it out. But he had written this history of the beginning of the Smash community, as a competitive thing, and that's sort of what revealed the community to me, as this sort of historical thing, as this fascinating place.
You were reading like the tablets. Like you were like, whoa, this goes way back.
Yeah, exactly.
That is so amazing. So then in your head at that time, were you interested in film? Like, was this like formulating into a film in your mind, or were you just like, what an interesting story, there's something here?
It just so happened to be that I had gotten a 7D, a Canon 7D, just like a few months before, because I wanted to do music videos. I had been very much off of making film. I was not in that mindset. I was in Boston. My brother was learning music, and I was we were kind of playing guitar and doing the singer-songwriter thing. And so I was like, I'll do music videos and stuff, because that's what I spent most of my life doing was film before then. So this opportunity, I was like, oh, you know what, this could be something more. There's actually a lot of potential stories here, and I have this cool camera now. So I figured, why not?
Did the scope of what you were kind of trying to do grow as you were doing it, or were you kind of set on a certain kind of scope of how big the documentary eventually ended up being?
It definitely changed, because you can actually see evidence of this. My PayPal is still the Smash Bros movie at gmail.com, because it was originally I wanted to do a movie. I was like, oh, yeah, that'll be cool. And then very early on, I was like, you know what, this is just, there's too many protagonists here. There's too many individuals that need to have their story told from their perspective. Yeah. And that just lends itself to a show or a series way better.
Sure.
So.
And I realize, I think with all really great documentaries, I feel like you watch it and the characters themselves, the human beings, the stories that you're telling are so compelling, where as an audience member, sometimes you kind of stop and think, wow, this subject, this character is so fascinating. How have they not had more spotlight before? And the documentary really lucked out finding this fascinating person. But then you realize, I think it's just the mark of a truly talented documentary filmmaker, of finding those stories and also bringing those stories to life and letting those characters shine. So can you kind of, I guess, go through that experience of getting to know these individuals that soon became, I guess, not only friends, but also fascinating subject matter, I guess, from a weird perspective?
No, it was definitely the weird thing is, because I was coming at it from an outsider.
Sure.
I was this person that was not part of the community, and I kind of had to prove myself to everybody. It was like, look, I'm
Did
not.
they hand you a controller when you walked in the room?
This is like the secret password. You have to be able to wave dash.
You have to be able to beat him and then just like point to somebody.
But the equivalent of that basically was I had to show off my own skills as like, I can make this look good. And I can make you guys look dope. And the way I did that was I just kind of got my friends together and just was like, okay, you're going to pretend to be a smasher. I wrote a script basically for these people to speak and pretend that they were, at this tournament or, like, yeah, man, he kicked him all the way across the screen. Like, and they're awful. They're not actors. They're just my friends. They're just doing
Kirby punched me in the face.
Yes.
It was rough.
Yeah, but essentially, yes.
Okay.
But like that became, I cut it together and I made it look good. And that was good enough for people to be like, okay, he knows what he's doing.
So you showed that to them. It was like a sizzle, like a trailer. And you were like, here's what I want to do.
Exactly.
And they loved it. They were in.
There was overwhelmingly the response was like, this is awesome. In fact, the first one who responded on the forums, you can still go read it. It's Dr. Peepee, I think. And he was
Dr. Peepee.
The greatest. You know him by his name.
Yep, you know Dr. Peepee.
But that was sort of the floodgate that opened. It's like, okay, I'm legit. I can get in there. And then I was basically taken in by the community and like introduced to people and like, oh, you should talk to this guy or that guy. And I slowly, as I was piecing the history together, I would reach out to people. I really only had one person that didn't want to get on camera and like talk about their life.
Sure.
But pretty much everybody else I was able to sit down, talk about, and make a connection with in some way.
How much travel did it involve going all over the country?
Crap ton.
Yeah.
I was living. Yeah.
Just how many places did you go? Do you know? It's it's going back 10 years.
Yeah,
but...
it's more than 10 years now.
Yeah.
But at the time, I hit SoCal because I had to go. Wrangle Mango, who was really tough to wrangle in those days.
I bet.
And then I was down in DC for Chillin' Dude and Wife, Chewed At. Boston actually was a home base. Some people actually came up there.
Makes sense. I mean, PAX is there too.
Yeah.
And I feel like people kind of gravitate towards that.
Everybody gravitates toward Boston.
But already Boston to SoCal, that's, and I'm assuming you drove.
No, I flew.
You flew. Okay.
Yeah,
I was going to say, that's a long drive. Okay.
But I did, it was a shoestring budget. I had barely enough money to really make it. I had to raid my Roth IRA to actually make it, work, which I'm still recovering from, but it's definitely, it was worth it in my eyes because, I was sleeping out of a car, but I was driven by such the vision in your head to kind of see the finish line. And, it worked out. There were a lot of close calls for a lot of different reasons, but,
Sure.
You need a little bit of luck, I think.
Well, I saw once, I'm reading here that you got attacked by a mugger once.
Yeah.
Was that
happened?
during travel? Like you were going somewhere to shoot and just...
It was
and you almost got your camera stolen?
Yeah.
Or? Okay.
It wasn't even just like traveling anywhere in particular. It was a very, very important shoot. It was the first big tournament I was going to, Apex 2012. And I had 3 big bags with me to take on my own. And it was in Boston, Back Bay Station. So beware if you're ever in Back Bay Station.
Dangerous Back Bay
Dangerous
Station.
Back Bay Station at 5 a.m.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, did you have like Pelican cases or like bags that said, this is a camera?
That's,
Target.
In retrospect, I should have taken that little label off. But that was, it put me in this weird situation because I was like, okay, this guy just grabbed my camera bag. He's walking away saying he has a gun. And I'm standing up like, okay, what do I do?
Yeah.
My whole dream is in his hands right now. And it was a split-second decision. I do not recommend you do this. But as soon as he turned his back, I kind of figured in the back of my mind, this guy doesn't have a gun.
Yeah.
He's just, a dude who's trying to mug me. And so I speared him into the wall and I wrestled the camera bag away. And long story short, I'm going to make this sound actually more heroic for me. I won and I got the bag back and he actually pulled a needle out and he threatened me again with he said he had AIDS.
Oh, God.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was crazy intense. This actually went to trial 6 months later. I got cross-examined on the stand. They got him. This amazing detective lady got him down. It was like a whole NYPD.
Boston PD.
Yeah,
Nice.
it was awesome. But as far as the police work went, but in the moment, it was very not awesome. But I ended up just he was running away with my bag again. I wasn't going to fight him with his AIDS needle. But I was eventually just like, here's $20, give me my bag back, and he's like, all right. So, that was it. It was very anticlimactic.
Wow, but also
Still pretty
heroic of
clever.
you.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
little bit.
Fight or flight kicks in, and you're like, I'm getting my bag back.
Yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
even had the wherewithal after like wrestling somebody, to be like, I'll just like give you money if you just give me my bag back.
Yeah.
I don't think many people would have, had the cognizant like reality to be like, okay, this is
It's a lot of layers there.
Yeah.
It was.
I like it.
Well, and then the bottom layer is that he actually did have AIDS. He wasn't
Oh,
lying. So I'm glad I didn't wrestle him for much longer.
What?
Did this all
Probably
come
good
out in
call.
court? Oh my god.
Yeah, well, that was how they tracked him down. Was that he actually, he had been taken in by this detective lady, and they, he said that he had AIDS, and she was like, put one and one together because she remembered my case.
Shit.
Oh.
So yeah, she was like legit, like
Yeah.
dun dun sort of thing.
That really is like detective, like the numbers and everything. You're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
wait a second. That's crazy. And then in that moment, were you like, this isn't worth it? Or were you like, I'm more empowered to like make this and do what I wanted to do? Or were you just like, I need to like take a break?
You could either have gone either way, to be honest. Like that was one of those moments. It's like an inflection point. Is this worth it? Like, how many more people am I gonna have to fight through? Like, this one's got some other communicable disease and blah blah blah. But I honestly, it was a clarifying moment. As soon as I got on the train, which I barely got onto, and I was sitting down, breathing hard, and I was just like, oh, thank God. I was like more determined than ever. And that tournament, that shoot, that was only enabled because I got that back, became like the crux of the whole documentary. So many important interviews were achieved there. So again, luck does play a huge part of it, I think.
That's true.
Dang.
How
That's
long,
crazy.
and I'm curious too, how long were you going out and shooting? Because it feels like it was over a long period of time that you kind of got these moments and stitched everything together. How many like tournaments did you go to? How long was it?
I went to a lot of tournaments. I went to probably 3 or 4 or 5
Wow.
tournaments, maybe 6 actually. And in that, it was over a year I was shooting, basically. It was like a 6-month pre-production, a year shoot, and then another 6 months taken to edit and put it all together.
A year is a long time.
Oh yeah,
That's a lot of travel, brain power, like to be on, because the thing with documentary filmmaking is, you said it really well. The people are so interesting, obviously, and that's why you want to make the documentary. But to get them to come out of their shells or to kind of give you what you're looking for your story, it's the skill of the documentarian. Like, you need to kind of have a really clear idea of what you want and then be able to execute that in the moment with a real person who has their whole life and history and, things they've been through. So how was that for you? Do you feel like you learned as you went, or was it from like your film schooling that you kind of had the pre-production down and you felt really confident?
I will say film school actually was helpful for sure. Although I really started making movies when I was 8 with my friends, just like running around being idiots. And that actually was just as informative, I think. But yeah, you're 100% right. The sitting down, talking with someone, and making that connection, like an empathetic connection, was invaluable to getting these, really deep core memory issues like out of people that might not otherwise share with someone. And sometimes you couldn't drag them out. It was tough. I'd be driving back home from an interview and I would just feel dejected because I had failed.
You didn't get it. Like, you knew you didn't get it.
Yeah, or I knew if it was in there, but it was going to take a lot of editing. So but I think it was just that persistence. You cry in the bathtub and then you get up the next day and you're like, okay, it's not as bad as I thought.
Did you edit as you went along?
No, I had to have sort of a come to Jesus moment for that because I've been doing this production. I was working, a part-time job at Patagonia, Boston, and I got appendicitis, and like my whole appendix exploded.
Oh my God! Emergency surgery.
Yeah, it was weird because I walked to the hospital and they were like, "You walked here? You have no how?" So I guess I can't really feel my internal organs very well.
Okay.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
Depends on the situation.
Pain threshold very high.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But that waylaid me for a month, and so I was sitting there. I was like, okay, I have time. Now I'm not going to work, and I started editing that moment. And I realized I was like, oh shit, like this is going to take a lot of effort. So I quit my job.
Wow.
So it's like I just have to do this one thing, and in order to make it great, and it would not have been nearly as good if I didn't have that time, or the Roth IRA to raid to do it.
Wow. So you didn't have any additional editors that were helping you, or did you do it all on your own?
All on my own.
Wow, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sheesh.
It's a lot.
I don't know about you, Sydney. I know so many filmmakers. I know films I've been in that they get to the editing process and it's just
It's a nightmare.
people don't understand the scope of what it takes,
Yeah.
and it's it's what stopped me from being a content creator. Honestly, it's like the daunting thought of learning all the editing skills, especially to get to a point where people are in today's day and age.
Everyone's an editor.
daunting.
Everyone's a pro editor.
I mean, yeah,
in
pretty
today's
much.
day and
Yeah,
age.
and thankfully,
We're all on TikTok.
I can work. I know some great editors I work with, and
Yeah.
it's like great, and I've created some great stuff collaboratively. But the thought of taking all of that on your own, because it's tough. I don't know. I can't imagine taking that all on by yourself.
I work in film, and editors are their own special breed, and to be not only like the basically the writer,
Right.
the director, and then the editor,
Yeah.
it's really hard to kill your darlings,
yes.
or not like throw the baby out with the bathwater type
Yeah.
situation. But I feel so like it's amazing that you created what you created, knowing that it was you, and the self-motivation too.
And
That is huge.
You're the
Yeah.
producer too. I mean, you're the one
Yeah.
wrangling these people, getting these shots. That takes a lot of energy, a lot of social kind of working and energy. So you're wearing a lot of hats, and that's
Oh yeah.
I'm
I really
curious
commend you for
too.
it. Thanks,
Marcus and I are both actors as well. I'm curious from sort of the stars of your documentary from an acting standpoint. How did they feel when you would come in, for these interviews and to sit down with them? Like, I know you were mentioning some people it took a long time,
Right.
but I'm sure a lot of them were also very excited to talk to somebody about this world that they are so invested in and involved in.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find it was like, I guess, easy, hard? I mean, person to person, it depends, I'm sure. But how did that go with each interview session?
Well, you're absolutely right. Some people really take to it. There were some, everyone was different. Obviously, there was one person that I didn't get an interview with in time. Although later on, when he saw the documentary come out, he was like, "You want to do an interview?" I was
Of
like, dude, it's already out. I can't help you.
Yeah.
So, but like this guy, episode 3, Isaiah, he's like the main kind of guy in episode 3. I really wanted to talk to him because he was, it was Isaiah and Ken that really got me into the whole, beginning of this thing. The genesis was most 3 and watching them kind of go back and forth. And he was really difficult to kind of open up. And I was like, okay, can we? He didn't want to do an interview, and I basically decided, like, okay, screw the camera, let's just do an audio interview, and I'll figure out what I'm going to do, visual wise later. And that was able, over lunch, and then we were sitting in a quiet room at this big tournament, Apex 2012. He opened up, and we really got to connect, like, as humans, and that kind of like opened this whole window into his soul. Like, really, he bared like who he was. And it was one of the most, gratifying things to be able to experience, his life. That's like one of the best parts about documentary work is when you really connect with someone and, see the world through their perspective. And you identify yourself in them.
Yeah.
And then other people were great at just sort of being the narrators, like who knew the history, wanted to tell it. Chillin' Dude 829, I love that guy. He's one of the great examples of it. He was plugged into the competitive scene in its heyday in the golden age, like 2006 MLG days, that kind of, and basically he knew like all the intricacies of like the back and forth east west sort of like the rivalries, and then people like I just happened to get lucky again with Wife, this guy who basically became like almost the face of the documentary, and he had just happened to have been writing a book right before we sat down. So he had everything at the top level ready to go. And he also was just, I got the sense that he liked acting or knew about musicals and stuff. Like, he was into that performative kind of thing.
He had on-camera presence.
Yes, he had a very good, presence. And it really showed. And, it would not have been the same without people like that or finding those people, for sure.
Absolutely.
You talk a lot about how you weren't personally a competitor before you started, making the series. Have you played in any tournaments, in the making of the documentary or since? Did you ever finally get up and Give it the old college try.
Why are you saying yeah so quietly? Why are you backing away from the microphone?
I'm portioning my to the amount of success that I had.
That's not the question.
Yes. But you played in a tournament?
That's the follow-up.
Or a few tournaments?
Yeah.
No, I did. I played in I would jump into tournaments and stuff, or just like if I was at a local at like interviewing Hungry Box in Florida local before Apex 2015. And, I would jump in and just get absolutely destroyed. And then I'd feel like, okay, well, there's a reason I'm behind the camera and not in front of it. But it is actually, it's funny you bring up the competitive aspect, because that is something that was another big part of why I wanted to do this whole thing in the first place. Like that aspect, there's this like kind of, I don't know, male, dominance thing that I never really understood and kind of just didn't. It's always been kind of like a further from me than I wanted to know more about it. I guess I understand what it is that drives people to be so competitive, and I feel like I learned that I'm really bad at it. With I got destroyed by so many different people. Everyone in the doc that you've seen essentially has kicked my ass. But being exposed to that world and seeing the community that kind of grew up around it really informed that aspect of humanity that I wasn't really familiar with and not comfortable with.
Who's your main?
Captain Falcon.
Nice.
I mean, big buff masculine dude, obviously.
Yeah, gotta be Captain Falcon. Really, Captain Falcon? But your name, we mentioned this off air, and I was like, say it. So your handle and your name is not Captain Falcon,
No, it's not related to Captain Falcon. In fact, it is related to the characters that I played originally. Samox is a smooshed together. What do you call it? A portmanteau.
Yeah. Is it a portmanteau?
One of those things.
Something like that.
I think so.
It sounds smart.
It sounds smart.
We'll
Sounds right to me.
Yeah.
But you smush together Samus and Fox, and you get Samus.
You used to main Samus and Fox.
Yeah.
Okay. I agree with that. Samus, I love Samus.
Samus is awesome.
Samus is awesome.
Legit.
In Melee?
Yeah.
Okay, Melee is different. I'm an ultimate girly now, so like it's different for me. But
True.
I play Young Link, so I don't have a leg to. I don't think Smash Bros is a fighting game, so who cares what I think?
Oh yeah, that's an excellent question.
It's not.
Travis, do you think Smash Bros is a fighting game?
I was wrong.
I am contractually obligated to say yes.
It is.
Okay.
I know it is. All right.
100%.
God damn it. All right.
Speaking of the competitiveness, though, I'm curious. When you first integrated yourself into the community, did you find it to be an accepting community?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, the funny thing is, and I know it's actually gone through different stages, right? Like when I was in it, or just getting involved in it, there was much more sort of acceptable use of slurs and like things like that were like
it's the early 2000s. Things were
yeah,
different.
Well, even later than that.
A little later
like,
than that.
Yeah,
We were
like
behind the times.
2010s, even then it was like, because that's where a lot of gaming grew up a lot with this generation, I feel like, and everybody kind of went through this phase where it was like, again, it was connected to that masculine sort of,
everything was gay.
Yes, exactly. Everything was gay, or fill in the blank, whatever slur you want. But it's like that was definitely part of the culture, and I came in as like a documentarian. I didn't want to try to like
change the culture to make it appear better than it was.
Right.
Yeah.
So I did have like a tiny little segment about in the original doc about that, just about the use of terminology, what it means to different people in the community that are from more marginal communities. And thankfully, and this is amazing to me, and it's a testament to the community, as soon as the doc came out and more people started joining the community, and it kind of blew up and became like an esport kind of thing.
Yeah.
A lot of that just kind of fell away, and it's become much more accepting. Like the amount of trans people that I've met in the Smash community, it's amazing. Like including, I was just talking last night, Zoe Zephyr, I think is her name. She's a PM player. She's a representative in Montana, a state rep. So, we're not only are we being, we're much more inclusive now than we used to be, but we're infiltrating other places to make them more inclusive.
That's amazing.
I'm trying to phrase this as a question and not just like a straight up compliment, but I mean, I'm sure you recognize this to some extent. You're obviously very, very humble, but a lot of that is partially your influence. And I truly believe that I think the two biggest pieces of media that helped Super Smash Brothers, especially back in the Melee kind of era, competitive Melee, really blossom and grow and even break into the mainstream more so is the Smash Brothers and Emp Lemon's video about Hungry Box.
Yeah.
I think those two videos honestly have done more for the community than any other two. I'm sure you feel that to some extent. My question, I guess, would be, is that recognition still kind of, are you still seen and accepted in the community and kind of, do you get the flowers you deserve is kind of what I'm trying to say? Because I mean, it's huge what you've done for the community. And obviously we're going to talk more about your follow-ups if we don't have time today, definitely tomorrow. And I know that you're still very, very much ingratiated.
Oh, you're coming back.
You're coming back tomorrow. You're coming back tomorrow. Yeah.
You're contractually obliged to come back tomorrow.
Coming back tomorrow.
You can make some time to come back tomorrow.
Okay, I went from way far away, so you guys have to at least like pull out a cot or something so I can sleep here tonight.
There's a sleeping bag somewhere in the studio.
Okay.
There's no air conditioning though, so.
But we'll sleep on the roof.
We're 10 years after this, more than 11 years after the Smash Brothers have come out.
That's crazy.
Your impact is still felt, even if the new generation doesn't directly know it, which I'm sure they all do. But are you? What's that like? Do people still consciously kind of reach out to you as a pillar of the community?
I think you know, just a week or so ago, like there was some post, you know, the Mount Rushmore of Melee, and I had a face on there. So I feel like that does come up. You know, the Smash Brothers is always going to be, you know, like you said, it's 10 years old at this point. Even, you know, 5 years ago, people were calling it old and out of date and stuff. But I think it's always going to be there as sort of like this touchstone for the community.
Right, totally.
There was it really kind of crystallizes in time, this era. And, you know, I no matter what, I think I'm always going to have a foot in the Smash community. And I'm just happy that they were as welcoming to me as they've been, you know? So, I feel like, you know.
Are there any frustrations you feel with that as like you're the Smash Brothers guy as well? That's a bit of a loaded question.
No, I absolutely, because you do one thing and then are you pigeonholed for that?
Right.
You know, and it is kind of, I was thinking about that because the next project I did was another Smash documentary. Yeah. But I did, you know, I feel like whatever you want to do is sort of like the next thing, the next bubbling thing. And I don't know what that is, if it's related to Smash or if it's going to be something else. But no matter what, I think you know, I just kind of go where the passion is.
Sure.
And I try not to think about what that means for me, I guess.
And you have reached out. We're going to talk as well about Team Razor, great games as well.
Oh yeah.
Which takes a look at other esports.
Yeah.
Your passion, was it always kind of centered on Smash Brothers, or have you had a wider kind of passion and interest in esports as a whole?
I've definitely had a love for Counter-Strike as well. Counter-Strike was 1.6 is the only game that has ever kept me in one place for an entire day, like from when I woke up to when I went to sleep. And I ate nothing but Cheez-Its this one day.
Oh
Classic.
my God.
It's rough results of that, but
at least you ate.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I've seen worse.
But how did you do?
Actually it was 1.6, and I feel like at the time I was okay.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think I'm particularly good at competitive games.
Doesn't matter. That's okay.
Yeah. But you know, I've definitely had interest in other games besides Smash. Like my original game was Civilization.
I saw that and I was like, I gotta talk to him about Civ. We gotta talk about Civ.
Which Civ?
I mean, I started Civ with Civ 1, man.
Okay.
I'm OG.
That's classic.
So, yeah, but I played every single one of them. I love just and again, and maybe this speaks to the way my brain works, is like I never min-maxed the way people do. I'm like, I'm not like, you know, I gotta get this one city is all about culture. This city is about, you know, production. I always kind of looked at it as like almost a role-playing kind of thing.
Oh, same. That's how I played it too. Yeah, that was the most fun.
Yeah. Exactly.
Did you play Crusader Kings?
Yes, I love that. Oh, so fun.
Have you played Manor Lords? It's in beta.
Ooh, no.
It's in beta, so it's not fully done, but we should talk about that.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
We'll talk about that.
Yes,
we'll definitely talk more tomorrow, I think, more about your personal gaming experiences. A quick question about Civ, though, is are there mains in Civ? Like, I want to be like a Gandhi main.
Yeah.
I suppose if you
know?
choose the same
'Cause they got
like
recurring
ruler,
characters.
yeah.
I want to be Lincoln main.
Lincoln.
You want to be Lincoln main? You want to be Lincoln?
I wanna be Lincoln's a good. Yeah.
He's got that top hat.
He's got the
That's-
top
right.
hat.
Yeah.
I thought you'd be like Montezuma or something.
Yeah,
like
I was a weirdly patriotic kid, so I was always like,
every Halloween, you were like,
America.
I would like to be President Lincoln. And your parents were like, are you okay?
I couldn't grow the beard yet, so
We'll put a pin in this though, and we would
Yeah.
love to have you back. There's so much more I want to talk about, and more beyond even just the documentary and just about you and like your personal life and stuff.
Cool.
So thank you so much.
Follow-ups after
Yeah.
Smash Brothers as well. I want to know what you're working on now. And
So don't go anywhere. Also, don't go anywhere because Marcus and I will be back for a tier list. But we will have Travis back tomorrow, so stick around for that ep as well.
next,
Level play.
there we go.
Don't you can cry. Don't you cry.
How can I? We just talked to Travis.
I know.
That
I'm
man's
I'm
delightful.
in such a good mood now. But we need to get a little hardened and we need to make some tough decisions because we have a tier list today
We do.
that is Xbox exclusives.
Xbox has exclusives.
Yeah, did you know that?
Got him.
I feel like we have to say the number one on the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Halo.
Halo.
I know.
2, I guess.
I
What's the best Halo?
I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel like you have to say Halo as like an S tier though because it's the
Yeah.
one that started everything.
You do, and we are making these obviously exclusive when they first came out because Microsoft doesn't.
Yeah.
They're slowly starting to give less of
Less exclusive.
less of a shit. But yeah, I would say I think it's the easiest number one.
It's good to start off with.
Yeah, Halo made the Xbox, so I
Yes.
think you also have to put in when we do tier lists. Historic context is important, I think. So yeah, Halo's S.
Cool.
I got you. Forza, I think would be obviously the rival to the Gran Turismo Sony
Sure.
exclusive kind of situation.
B?
Yeah, I mean it's fine.
I'm shocked that
It's
you
fine
went
for what it
to
is.
Forza instead of going to Flight Simulator.
Oh, we're getting to Flight Simulator.
okay.
It's just that's a little more niche. Microsoft Flight Simulator is fucking incredible.
It is incredible.
Granted, it's on the PC as well.
Yeah.
But I think there's a little lenience here. Microsoft Flight Simulator. I love flight sims. I've always loved flight sims. I talked about Pilot Wings earlier.
You talk about flight sims a lot.
I love flight sims. It's so cool. I mean, I find flying fast. You're in a fucking metal tube and you're going around the world. It's so fucking cool. Anyway, I'm more of an air traffic controller than a pilot. And so therefore, flight simulators are cool to me. Microsoft Flight Simulator simulates the entire fucking planet with every airport. It's so cool.
It's so dope. I think it needs to go in S.
I was going to settle with an A.
I think it needs to go
It's
in
no
S.
Halo.
I know,
Shit.
but it's Microsoft Flight
Fuck
Simulator.
yeah, it is.
Like,
Hell yeah, baby. Let's do
Yeah.
it. That's an S. Love it.
we're being nice.
Gears of War
Gears of War? Which one?
series.
Oh, okay, series
Yeah. The best one.
A?
Yeah. For
A?
me, and granted, I'm more of a first person than a third person cover based shooter, but Marcus Phoenix has such a great name.
Why? No reason?
That just sounds good. I don't know what it is. Phoenix. there's nothing
Oh,
about
it's Phoenix. It's not the Marcus part.
Oh, I didn't even.
Oh, I didn't even realize. What's his name? It's my name. Can I say one that might be controversial?
Please.
Sea of Thieves?
Okay, yeah, and you can count that as a console exclusive at first.
I want to say A for the time that it came out, but I'm gonna put it in B
Okay.
just because. I mean, it's still people still play Sea of Thieves. It's still
Yeah.
big.
I'll trust your judgment on that. I have a friend who puts hundreds of hours.
I know,
into
which
Sea
is
of
why I
Thieves.
feel bad putting it in B. But I don't know. That's my opinion.
I think it's fair. I think
because
that's fair.
it's my opinion.
Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts killed one of my most beloved franchises of all time. I need to knock it for that. I don't think it's as bad as people say,
Okay.
but it's still a D.
D.
hmm
Holy shit.
I mean, it took the Banjo-Kazooie
I know.
franchise and put it in the Stone Age, so.
All right. What else we got?
I think this is mostly pretty solid because we're kind of scraping the bottom of the board, or other than like,
Fable. Fable was really big when it came out.
what about Fable?
I mean, I would put it as an A, but I'm gonna put it as a B. Sorry for the beloved fans of Fable.
I trust your judgment on that.
Huge game when it came out. It's just like nobody. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was an Xbox exclusive, and it kind of died with that.
Yeah. I think we can talk Killer Instinct maybe.
Okay.
It just paled in comparison. Again, you took a beloved Rare franchise and you took a big fat shit all over it. You didn't. It was fine. It wasn't that bad.
What are you gonna put it as?
You did. It's not as good as it used to be. I'll give that one a C.
Oh.
It does. I won't knock that all the way down to a D.
You know what I completely forgot about?
What was that?
Grounded, which was a really cute and fun game.
Oh yeah. That was like
man.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that game.
Well, that's not helping.
I
the
know,
case,
I know.
Is it?
I'm like, maybe put it as a C.
Oh, sure.
Like, I feel bad. It was really cute.
I think I'll end with a very lukewarm, giving Titanfall. I'll give it a B. I think it's a solid shooter.
Kind of you.
You think?
I think so.
I think it's good. I mean, it's not like Anthem.
Yeah.
And it's solid, but it's no Gears and certainly no Halo. So I think a B. It's kind of been forgotten a little bit.
Man, now that I'm thinking about Grounded, I'm like, I switched my answer. Katamari needs to make like a Grounded, we need a Grounded remake. We need a new Grounded game.
I would prefer the Katamari remake.
All right, whatever. I'm going to end the tier list there. I feel like we did
this is solid.
a generous read on it. Once again, Marcus and I are like really kind in the tier list section.
I think the beard held all of my anger
it's
and
gone.
animosity.
It's all gone.
Yeah.
You're like a monk now.
Yeah.
Wonderful. But
Yeah.
you might get angry. Ooh, hate to say, the next segment is Postmark with Samurai. Stick around. Is that another earthquake? Marcus? Marcus? Hi, I'm Barbie.
That's a lie.
I know.
It's a fucking bold-faced lie if I ever heard
I'm
one.
Sydney.
I'm Marcus.
This is Marcus.
Sorry, I'm in a little bit of a crabby mood because, well, Samurai's here for some bold predictions.
He's also been doing this for 30 minutes.
Yeah, Post-Market News, the ending segment of Next Level Play. We're almost through it.
We're almost there. We're almost there.
But first, let's hear from Samurai.
Samurai, did you come prepared with a bold prediction of the future of gaming?
No!
Oh, well, that is the whole segment.
I could have predicted that.
I mean, yes, of course I did. Yes, as I've seen the future, and as per usual, I have a paradigm-altering prediction. Something that the people at home they're gonna weep with joy and jubilation when they hear about the prediction I have for them today. Because it's a good one. It's a very, very good prediction.
Define the word paradigm.
Paradigm.
Without using the word paradigm.
Okay. So what it is when you have not one but two dimes, and you're able to put them into the gumball machine, and then you're only a couple cents short of a whole.
Yeah, that was actually pretty good.
It does have a
All
paradigm.
right, go on, Samurai.
Paradise. The game I'm gonna predict today, new game. Surely we're all very familiar with simulator games where you're simulating things. I know we got a fan in the house.
Sydney Simulator, as we call her.
That's what they called me in high school.
Sid City.
Sid City.
Yeah, Sid City over here.
On, this guy.
Sid City.
This guy.
Yeah. So what I'm predicting today is a new game that will bring the children of today back to the magical decade of the 1990s. No notes on the 90s, so it's a perfect time where nothing bad happened.
Yep.
Back in the 90s, you would go to the shopping mall, and boy, would you have fun. You'd go there with your grandma, and she would go, oh, you can have $5 to spend at the Orange Julius. And you go, I need more than $5, I want the large. And then she'd cave, and you'd get the large one. We all remember this experience, yes? You'd go to EB Games, you'd go to Licorice Pizza, and you'd buy all your video games, all your physical media needs, back when we were a nation with principles, with values.
You'd go to Hot Topic.
Yes, you'd go to Hot Topic.
You'd get the spiked belt.
You'd get the spiked belt.
You'd be
You'd
too
get the
afraid
cuffs.
to wear it to school.
But you'd have it and it would ruin your t-shirts.
Yeah.
God, would it put little holes in all your t-shirts at the waist level. Anyway, in this new simulator game, Shopping Simulator, :98, you go to the mall. You visit your favorite stores. You go to the food court. You get a soft serve ice cream at the Orange Julius. You go to Licorice Pizza. You pick up the new Third Eye Blind album. You go to Hot Topic. You go to Spencer's Gifts and you buy X-rated things on t-shirts that your mom tells you have to return. And yes, that is part of, you got to go back. You got to return the games.
Settle on some Jack Skellington merchandise.
Sure.
A Beetlejuice pants.
Classic.
You're
Oh,
wearing the
yes,
Beetlejuice
the
pants.
striped pants, of course. A t-shirt that just says, I heart MILFs.
Yeah.
Sure.
A Happy Bunny shirt that's like, I threw up or whatever.
I kill people.
I kill people.
Yeah, one of those.
Classic.
Yeah, Happy Tree
Yeah.
Friends
Classic.
kind of thing. This game will transport the youth back to this time. The youth will appreciate it so much that in real life, they'll go back to our shopping malls, our beautiful, beautiful shopping centers, and they will repair this divided nation that can be united if they would only meet each other halfway in the food court to split a sundae.
Will you be able to feel crippling insecurity and lack of self-worth by visiting Abercrombie and Fitch?
Yeah.
Well, of course, and there will be a health meter that will go down as you have to inhale the perfume and a cologne that they pump through the vents at Abercrombie.
Can you get ripped off by a kiosk vendor
Yes.
with some iced out, overly flashy watches?
Yes, of course. That's part of
Can
the mall
you
experience.
cry in the dressing room at Hollister when you no longer fit into the 00 jeans?
Yes, you can. That's all part of the
Okay.
experience.
Does the
Anything you can
health
do-
meter go down?
The mental health meter.
Yeah, there's the mental health.
and the
Gotcha.
physical meter.
You
yeah.
see, like, your bully across
yes,
the
you see
way.
your bully. You try to talk to your crush. Right down.
Mm.
Right
Oh
down.
God, why? I would avoid. I would
Yeah.
avoid.
Yeah, you're there with your parents. It's a nightmare. Yeah.
If you're there with your parents, can you hide in one of those circular clothing racks
Yes,
at
yes.
JCPenney's and then have your parents like make an announcement? Like,
yes,
hey,
yes.
you're lost,
You'll have
Marcus.
to. Yes, there'll be a thing where
Go to the
you can
front.
you can run away from a mall cop because you're
Yeah.
shoplifting.
Can you run? Oh, that's fun. Can you run up the down escalator?
Of course, yes.
Okay.
Is
Yes,
there
as long
a-
as you can outrun the mall cop?
Hello Neighbor-esque threat if you're playing like the younger version where you're with your parents, like of potential abductors?
Oh,
It's dark.
Yeah,
dark,
but
Marcus,
it's interesting
But
and
it's
it's actually a
real.
video
Yeah.
game.
Yeah. No,
Type-
there
types
of,
there could be.
setting.
There could be.
Yeah.
Samurai, I gotta say, I really like this prediction. I've been to the Mall of America, one of the biggest.
I'm from Minnesota.
yeah,
so,
of course. It was cool. It's cool to see a mall that's still alive.
It's okay.
But it's cool to see
Like,
a
wow,
mall.
there's 2 GameStops.
Well,
Gee fucking whiz. A shitty indoor amusement park
2
that
times
can't
the
compare
games.
to anything out.
I've
I'm sorry. That's my
I've
bias is
also
coming out.
been to some abandoned malls around America.
Those are more fun.
There's one in Cincinnati that's abandoned, and there's 2 stores that still exist. One is the Bass Pro Shop at one end of the mall, and
Solid.
the other is like a local mom and pop gym at the
Good for
other
them.
end of the mall.
Good for them.
Everything else in between is completely abandoned.
It's crazy.
And it's cool, it's interesting, but I see what you're saying, Samurai. There's this nostalgic 90s mall culture that the youth just doesn't understand
They don't.
today.
It's a good thing.
They don't get it though.
Malls fucking suck.
I think
Whoa!
I think we need to create this shopping simulator because I love simulator games, and I will absolutely buy and return, go back to the mall, skateboard around the mall, whatever. That sounds awesome. But I like the added boon that mayhaps it would reinvigorate people to shop locally at your local mall where you will get something from Nordstrom Rack.
Great. But it won't just be for the children. It'll be for the elderly people, the people who go to the mall at 7:30 a.m. to speed walk up and down the aisles. Think, when they are unable to speed walk in real life, they will move into the gaming simulator and they will speed walk
So
together
sad.
on the server.
This is so dystopian.
It's like a loiter simulator for
Yeah.
And
wayward
is there-
teens and elderly people.
Yeah.
Anything more fun than loitering? Samurai thinks no. Samurai thinks not.
It's not. Listen, malls aren't like mom and pop stores. It's fucking Zales and GameStop and Barnes and Noble, and they're fine without malls. They don't need malls. Malls are a giant fucking waste of space. It was 30 years of Americana that I hope is buried and forgotten. Why would we bring back malls? Like, we have way better, more convenient options. Malls are just a cesspool of like 14-year-olds hanging out. It's the worst fucking thing I can imagine.
I give this one Grandpa Simpson saying, "Where am I?"
Yeah, where am I? That's a good question. What the fuck am I doing with my life?
Right in the food court, standing by the Haagen-Dazs.
Auntie Anne's actually. I miss
Those
Auntie Anne's.
those
I'll-
cinnamon ones, those little nuggies.
He's
Those
back in.
nuggies in the cup.
Oh, he's back
He's
in.
back in. We got him. We got him. We got him.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us on Postmark and on Next Level Play, your podcast for all things gaming. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, looking forward to it. We're gonna have more hot takes, more arguments with Samurai. I'll try to keep my cool. No
I love
promises.
you. I mean, bye.